Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the mid-fall post-board meeting town hall. We'll get right to it. We're going to give you some updates on budget and on construction, what happened at the board meeting, and also some updates on development. I think we'll take questions at each juncture, so you can ask questions of the people who are presenting. Just a couple of notes. Bob Wallet, our CFO, and Dr. Cowart are at things where we thought they should be, so they're not here today, but folks are here to represent their areas in case there are any questions. And let me also say that at the end, if you see me disappear, it's because I have to go teach my FYS, and I'm in Dreamscape this today with them, and I need to make sure I'm all settled to be with them. So you'll see me depart at 10 till. And let me say, a very successful homecoming, and I'm not even going to call groups except everyone in here probably helped with homecoming, but especially the offices in development and in athletics and in admissions. You all had tons to do. I just have to say, we were a little overwhelmed, Meg, with positive comments from alumni about how wonderful homecoming was. So you all made that happen, and thank you. Just thank you. Yeah. So here we go. We're gonna, I think, jump into Meg, a report on what's happening in the development area. Come tell us what's going on.
Thank you so much. We wanted to briefly just touch on Day of Giving because it was really a great success. It was September 12th. The development office worked really hard on this and had lots of support from all across campus. So first I want to say a great thank you to the development team led by Erica Taylor for the Day of Giving. It was really a great day. You can see we had a little over 1,200 donors. We had over 1,300 gifts. There were a lot of you who made more than one gift, so they got counted more than once. And we raised $563,500, which is extraordinary, and I think we should give a round of applause to that. It was really a great day on campus, and I appreciate all of your help. This just kind of gives you a breakdown of who gave. I think it's always interesting to see who gave. I love that 16% of our donors were students. I think that is really fabulous. 14% were parents, 7% were staff, 5% were for faculty. Next year, I think we should have a competition to see who can give a higher percentage faculty or staff. 30% alumni and 26% friends. So it was just a really great day, and I just wanted to acknowledge it and thank the staff for working so hard on it, and thank you all for participating and being a part. And then I just wanted to briefly tell you a little bit about our capital campaign. We have been in a silent campaign since April of 23. Is that right, Mindy? I always say the wrong date. We launched our campaign publicly in September, on September 13th. The title of our campaign is Where Our Good Goes. It's the campaign for Catawba College. And we are really focused on impact. We are not going to have the big temperature gauge with an amount of money and say we're trying to raise this amount of money, because we've already raised a lot of money, to be really honest with you. And what we really want to do is engage with all of our alumni, our friends, our parents, our faculty and staff, and get people to give to Catawba College in a way that is meaningful to them and impactful for them. We all can give in different ways. We all have different capacity. And I just tell people, please make a gift that's meaningful to you. And if that is $50, then we're going to celebrate that all day long. If it's $5,000, we're going to celebrate that. So this is about impact. We're focusing on ways to grow our endowment, on ways to improve our academic programs, and our athletic facilities. So you already see a lot of the good of this campaign happening between the new dorm being built and Standback being renovated, and you'll see SR being renovated and Newman Park. We're going to work on raising money for a field house expansion and lots of great academic programs, scholarships, and endowments. So lots more to come, but please pay attention. Please be a part of this. Be excited about it. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask us. Any questions that you have for me now? All right, easy group today. Well, if you want to talk after, let me know. Thanks.
I hope everyone will appreciate, if you're on the development staff, just raise your hand. Yeah, I know there are others that aren't here, but what an extraordinary group doing extraordinary work. And I think a lot of people outside Catawba think there must be like 50 people doing all that work, and it's not anywhere close to that. So well done to you all. Now we're moving to budget, aren't we? So Stephanie is our Associate Vice President for Finance. You met her at opening day. She and Garrett and Bob Wallet were there, and she did an update where it wasn't all loaded properly, so some of the documents she wanted you to see slides weren't there. She's going to just hit those and then give you an update on the budget process. So, Stephanie, welcome.
Hello. That's good. Okay, so the first thing we wanted to go over is some of just where our investments are sitting. So this is a slide that we also presented to the board last week. You will see the first part of the section shows our endowments. So as of August, our endowments are at $671 million. And you can see over time how that's grown. So you'll see 3 different lines that break up our endowments, and it's just good to point out that you'll see the first 2 lines, total gift, beneficial interest endowments, and then total other beneficial interest in endowments. So why that's important is those 2 funds are made up of multiple investments, but they're not investments that we directly manage. They are managed by a beneficial interest in trust, means that someone else manages it. They dictate what your spendable is, and your spendable is how much money you can get every year, and they dictate how it is invested. So it's good news. So when you see this $671 million figure that we have, it's good to understand that a big piece of it is not under our discretion. It is, we will always be the beneficiary, so that can't change, but it's not at our discretion of how we spend it. The third line, your permanent endowment, that is board managed, and we hold that at Vanguard. So that is something that the board does the allocation of investments, and they also dictate what our spendable is and how we can draw that every year. The next kind of breakdown of information is what we call sometimes our kind of just our special funds, and that's made up of $98 million. You'll see this go down over time, and that's because a lot of these special funds is related to our capital projects. So as we receive donations, we're investing that money and making as much interest as we possibly can that can go back into all our construction projects around campus. So that is the majority of what those special funds are. I'll pause right there. Any questions on investments? Yes.
Can you talk a little bit more about how the beneficial interest is, I guess, how that's allocated or how those decisions are made for that spending that we don't have?
Yep, so the biggest one where we say the gift, it is one single fund, and it's held at the Foundation for the Carolinas. And it's in a fund where the donor, when they established it, they dictated the pool of funds at Foundation of the Carolinas that comprises the investment breakout. So there is a name to it. I'm not sure what that name is, but if you were so interested, we could give you that name, and then you go on Foundation for the Carolinas website, and it'll show you essentially what's in that type of fund. Does that help?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions?
Let's add to that, just for those that are newer. That is distributed. There's a distribution annually, and 1/3 of that is dedicated to environmental education, and that goes into a few different kinds of buckets, and we do have discretion over where that goes, but it supports the academic programs and scholarships, but also sustainability efforts on campus, and that can be down to some of the construction projects that have sustainability as a focus, get partial funding from that. The amazing thing about this part of the endowment is 2/3 of it is unrestricted, which is almost unheard of. So the terms of that, as Stephanie said, are set for us. That's done by donor, which is typical. That 2/3 being unrestricted gives us a kind of flexibility that it's really wonderful for our institution. I should say, the spendable on that is 5%. The other one, and not rolling, by the way, for those of you that know how this works, that's untraditional, but it is donor designation. We do not have control of that. The other part of it, the more traditional, is a more typical distribution and on a 3-year rolling average. Yeah, and you will see when I said in the last meeting why we were putting money away. It's not just the kind of conditions of the financial world and everything these days, but also you're hedging a bit on the vicissitudes of the market with a part of the endowment that actually is not done on a rolling average. Yeah.
And just since we're talking about what the intention, so the Vanguard pool of funds, I'll say a lot of that is scholarships for our students, some professorships, and some other small endowments, but it's mostly made up of scholarships for the students and professorships. Okay. This is a slide we talked about that there was a little hiccup in the last time I presented, and I tried to present you what the budget was verbally and try to explain it. So don't really have too much comments, but just take a quick peek at it. And this is what the budget is for fiscal year 25-26. It's obviously summarized. Each department gets their kind of own breakout of it. But this is the budget for this current year. Which leads me into the exciting part is it's budget season for 26-27. So this is the fun part of the year where we get to talk to you all and bug you and say, are you sure you want to increase that much? And we talk a lot. But we have a plan for this budget year. So we're kicking off earlier than we have, I think, ever in the past. Is that potentially true? And so we have a plan. I know everybody has, over the last few years with the turnover, everybody's doing it a different way, and it's been just a different way for multiple years. So hopefully this is the way we'll do it for a little bit. Each year we'll refine it and hopefully make the process a little bit easier and better. So just bear with us. I will say I have, this next few slides have been prepared by Amber, so she's done a big piece and she's our budget coordinator. And so you'll hear from her as well as me throughout this whole process. The first part, I'm just gonna try to go through this as quick as possible. The first part we're doing is what we're calling as our position control. That's where we're getting in all the requests of what salary increases are we gonna do? Are there new positions that we need to hire for? Is someone soon to be promoted? Or are you trying to restructure how your department is functioning? And so all those requests are currently going through the cabinet members, and they can make their request at this point. The next part will be what we're calling as our budget worksheets. And so we will prepare, give to deans, VPs, whoever is part of the budgeting process, you're gonna get a workbook from us. That workbook is gonna have lots of hopefully informational things for you. So it's gonna show you all the vendors you've paid for the last 3 years to see if that helps. It's gonna show you what your actuals have been for the last 3 years as well. And then it's gonna have a starting point of what your budget is, and then you can make adjustments from there and explain, hey, I wanna adjust my budget from last year because of this, this, and this. So also just remember, we are not a federal government, so we do not take the mentality of if you don't use it, you lose it the next cycle. So if you do not need a piece of your budget or as a one-time thing, please let us know and take it out, and you can always make a new request the next year when you do need it. So again, please don't take on that mentality of, if you don't use up your budget, you're not gonna get it next year. What else do I wanna say about budgets? Also, as part of the budget process, there's just some key points to keep in mind. So what we'll give you is some information on tuition, room, and board. We're really only expecting a 2% increase this year. The board has just approved tuition, room, and board fees, but we also have buildings and dorms offline. So we just don't expect too much of an increase. Additionally, with the market fluctuations, we're not expecting but planning on budgeting a huge increase in our endowment spend. So those are just factors to understand and know. So when you're looking at your expenses, next year is not going to be a year where you want a 900% increase to your budget. But we'll give you some of that information. So as you're looking at your information, you kind of know that, hey, a 1 to 2% increase in my budget is more realistic than asking for a 500% increase. Obviously, there's things from time to time. You have off-cycle things where you might have a higher increase for some years than others. Also, we will give you our, what do we call it? Sorry, one second. just some of our strategic priorities. We'll let you know what our strategic priorities are. So if you're asking for some one-time funding, keep in mind what our mission is and our priorities are for this next year. So if you can relate it back to our strategic mission and our strategies, that's going to serve you well, and that will help us understand why it's important for the next year that you need this increase. We are trying to keep a tight timeline, so please, 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 when we say it's due, it is due. If we don't get it back, I'm gonna assume you don't want a budget. So I'm gonna go with that method, and we'll send you a thank you for being such good stewards of the university, because that means you're saving us a bunch of money. So this timeline is really important. It goes fast. It takes a lot of effort to do the budget, and then the board is pretty involved, and they expect the finance committee needs a solid draft of the budget way in advance of their meeting, and then the board as well. So, and then we have the holidays in between this too. So the timeline really goes faster. You think this is kind of early to start it, but it really goes by pretty fast. I feel like I've rambled. This is just key facts, kind of a summarized version of the slide before, but I'll pause there. Any questions? Everybody's excited. Okay. I think that's it.
Thank you, Stephanie. I appreciate the way she and Amber are paying attention to the details of this, and I hope it's helpful to you. But as always, they welcome your questions if things don't make sense. And I'll note on that timeline, we're starting earlier because the board changed its meeting cycle a couple of years ago. And some of you who've been around a while will say, well, that seems early because that used to happen in April, and it did. The board meeting happened in mid-April. It now happens in mid-March, and you back everything up by a month, essentially. It's not that a budget can't be done in this time frame. Lots of institutions do that, but it's just different for us. So thus, the earlier start, and maybe we'll even start a little earlier in future years once we get the rhythm of this. No pressure, though. So capital projects update. Garrett Solomon, Associate VP for Facilities, who you also met on opening day. Welcome, Garrett.
All right, let's get into it. So over the last 7 months that I have been here, we have done a lot of work. Over the last 3 years, right, Stephanie, we have completed we have spent $40 million towards fixed assets and repairs. So a lot has been going into deferred maintenance around the campus. But of course, as you walk around, you see like a lot of improvements as we kind of go through this huge shift in construction. So if you look here, you can kind of just see just how much work we've done this summer. We have completed over 12 of our properties we acquired. We did full renovations for students, so now students can use these properties. You pretty much can see them on Summit, Park. All those different properties are what we own, and that's where students are currently living right now. Also, some other good news is that we were able to touch around 80% of our res halls this summer. We worked with Res Life as far as getting in there, working around a lot of different conferences and summer renters and things of that nature. So we were able to do a lot of painting, flooring, windows, and a lot of other deferred maintenance in the building. So I'm pretty sure the students were happy for that move-in, and I believe move-in was extremely smooth this year. So, and we were also able to do a lot of other things on campus. We were also able to work in a lot of academic spaces, classrooms, offices, just cleaning up a lot of buildings, kind of working through each one, and just trying to make sure we have a new furniture standard, paint standard, and flooring standard, where we're trying to go as sustainable as possible around campus. Some of the things to look forward to as far as what we need to accomplish here on campus is, one, is doing a full office optimization study around campus, seeing what are our true needs here on campus. And that is pretty much looking at each department, seeing the growth of each department, and how we can better allocate the spaces around campus as far as office spaces, classrooms, and storage. So that's just something we're going to be kind of tackling within the next year, and that way we can kind of have a better plan as far as how we tackle deferred maintenance and new buildings. Some of the other big things we're going to be tackling as well is going to be the fire life safety. The current systems we have, they're good, but they're not the best. With how we're upgrading a lot of our deferred maintenance around the campus, we need to actually have a good fire life safety system that supports the safety of faculty, staff, and students here. Another big one is going to be the chapel. The chapel needs a lot of work. I think we haven't done any work there in a while. I know Thad from the Bud Group, he was able to do some pointing not too long ago, but other than that, we need to tie in the geothermal system where we put it in front of the circle, but we have it stubbed out, but we still need to do the envelope work there, and then also do some ADA enhancements in that building as well. And other than that, we have Hedrick, which we haven't touched in a while, and then a couple other buildings where we need to do some envelope work around and doing some crawl space work, because a lot of our buildings sit, they pretty much sit on dirt. So if you ever walk into the buildings, they feel real kind of moist. It's because there's no barrier from those crawl spaces. So with us coming in there and doing those different kinds of work in these different buildings, the condition of the space will increase dramatically. I will stop there if you have any questions on things we have done and or future potential projects that are coming down the line. All right, perfect. Okay, I'm gonna move on to capital project schedules, the major capital project schedules. Those are the projects you see around making all the noise, dirt moving everywhere. So I kind of just want to kind of go through where we are, where we're standing as far as timeline. We have the smokestack. We were able to demo and remove the trees during fall break. And then from there, we have started all the other pre-construction activities, including cleaning out the space, doing some abatement, and then within the next 2 weeks, we'll be jackhammering all the concrete around the site. So luckily, we're gonna be pretty much doing a lot of the noise when students will be gone for the Thanksgiving break. Another one is Standback Hall. This one is projected to be late fall of 26. We did run into several different issues there, just with the site conditions. There was a lot of hidden gems, I would say, in the site. There's a lot of infrastructure that ran through the site. There are a lot of old steam lines that actually used to come from the smokestack that used to feed all the different buildings. All those were abandoned, but, well, I didn't do it, but somebody ran all the infrastructure through those different steam vaults, which were wrapped in asbestos. So we had to do a lot of abatement around the site. We're finding a lot of water lines, a lot of abandoned water lines, some electrical lines and things of that nature. So we had to move around a lot to pretty much get the building started. And then from there, in order to kind of get started with actual construction, we had to, the sand soil mixture of that site, we had to actually do some structural enhancements with some helical piers. And then after that, we were able to pour the concrete to get started on the footing. So now you'll actually start seeing a raised building on the Standback site. SR, we are looking at a start date of fall of 27. I mean, not fall, I'm sorry, a target delivery of fall of 27. We plan on getting started in the May. I've been working with Res Life and Justin as far as making sure that we have all the spaces accounted for as far as rooms. There's gonna be a lot of ADA improvements. We're adding an elevator, just making sure that we have everything accounted for on that side, and as well as doing all the investigative work so we don't run into issues like Standback. Another one we're gonna get started in May is Newman Park. We have a targeted date of winter of 27. We'll get started in May. Right now we have currently just received the GMP, so we'll be moving forward with all the pre-construction activities. That includes ordering the grandstands and then releasing all the steelwork. New Res Hall, as you kind of can go down Yost, you can pretty much just see that there is pretty much a skeleton of the building is there. Right now, they're currently putting the 3rd floor up. We are on schedule. Even with rain delays, all the rain happened towards the end of the rain cycle, so we were able to pour all the concrete and get all that stuff in place. So that kind of put us in a very good situation to where they can kind of keep working throughout all the construction. And then district energy and geothermal. We have successfully completed Field 1 and Field 2. That brings us up to around 200 wells currently over there on Frock Field. If you go around campus, you will see some of the guys kind of like sitting on these little tillers. That's pretty much all the directional drilling that ties the geothermal to all of our buildings like the Village, SR, Abernathy, Hurley, Williams, and a few other buildings. So they're currently still there kind of working around, but that's really the final phase, moving into adding the pump house, which will pretty much move all the water around from the geothermal fields to the buildings we are in today. And that is pretty much it for schedule. And then I just wanted to kind of give some other updates as far as Newman Park. So on this Saturday at 12:30, Meg? Yeah, at 12:30, we'll have a celebration to kind of get the Newman Park project started. And then I believe the game starts at 1. So I believe everybody is welcome to attend that. It will be a great event. And we'll also have some foam boards up so you can see all the renderings of the park. So pretty much this is like an image of the grandstand. It'll be around over 1,000 seats. We'll have also bleacher seats on around the 1st and 3rd base, and then you'll have bench seating in the center right behind home plate. We'll also be adding a lot of ADA accessibility. We're adding an elevator. We're redoing the the restrooms, and then also there will be a very nice press box up there as well. And then we'll also be doing some AV enhancements of the building as well. Any questions for Newman Park? And the final one, this is something new. I don't think a lot of people have heard about this one, but thanks to Meg and Mindy and development, we were able to get money for RCCC renovation. We broke it up into several different phases as far as how we're going to be doing the work here. And what you see here is the first phase of work. And we pretty much put it to where what are the critical items of what we need to do now, and then what will be some of the items we can do later. So the critical items here is the first big one is fire life safety. This building does not have any kind of fire life safety systems. So that is something that we are going to get started actually in the next week in November. We have everything lined up, so we'll be installing a full fire life safety system for this building. The exterior envelope of this building, it is compromised, it is deteriorating. It is something that we're gonna have to work around, removing all the brick around the building and replacing it. Also, we'll be removing the lower parapet roof and replacing that. The upper parapet was done when we did all the solar work. And then also we will be doing all of the windows in Hedrick Little, Crystal Peeler, and then the main lobby area, where we'll also be doing some ADA enhancements, including removing all the doors and putting a sliding glass door concept in those areas. That way for commencement and shows, it's a lot easier for people to come in and out. We'll also be adding a wheelchair lift in Crystal Peeler, only because we can't do an ADA ramp because it'll just eat up so much square footage in that area. So now you don't have to go around the building to get to the ADA accessible restrooms. You can now just take a wheelchair lift to get you up and down from Crystal Peeler. And then a few other things we'll be doing is some ADA work in the restrooms, opening up the door frames, so that way the restrooms are already ADA accessible, but the problem is that the doors to get inside the bathrooms are not. So we're gonna be adjusting the frameworks, and then that way people can get in and out of the bathrooms easily. And then a few other things is just updating the electrical, which is the breakers, switch gears. I don't think any of that has been replaced since the building has been built. Now is the time to go ahead and move forward and replacing those things. Other than that, that is it for RCCC. Anybody have any questions? All right, perfect. I will hand it back to David.
As I said with Stephanie, we're really glad Garrett's here, and some of us sleep more, don't we, Lee, now that Garrett's here. So a couple of things to note. Let's just say this is a lot, right? This is a lot, and it's a lot in a very compressed period of time. And I'm really glad we can do it, and that we can do it without any debt at all. I say that because it's just amazing that we're able to do all of this, and that we have the talent to do all these projects at one time. A couple of notes about things that you don't want to miss. That slide, it was easy to go past that first slide with all the words on it. So that's a ton that's been done in a short period of time, but you'll also note on that the word preventative is there. So for decades, the college, we've been trying to just keep up with deferred, or trying to catch up with deferred maintenance. And we're getting there. We're not there yet, but we're getting there. But you really want to be doing preventative and routine maintenance. And the fact that we're pivoting to that is a really good sign for the future of the institution. So I just don't want you to miss how important that word showing up is. It's really good for us. Second, delays happen in construction. So when I was informed, Garrett and Justin, our Dean of Students, needed to talk to me about standback, and it was that project running at that time 6 weeks behind. There's no way to get students in at the beginning. I don't think I did anything except, not a surprise, because anyone who's done this stuff knows building projects don't go on our timeline all the time. And what I appreciated is that they had worked together with their teams and had really good options for how to take care of our students next year. We showed that to the board the other day. I think we have really good people taking care of this, and I just want everyone to know. You might ask, well, what are we doing with our students? And the answer is we have room for our students, and just so you know, Dr. Brownlow, every first-year student will be on campus, right? We are not putting first years off. We're putting the older students off, and that's for good reason. Now, they may be in different places because SR will be closed next year, but nonetheless, they'll be well taken care of. So just want you to know that our teams that take care of our students are being very thoughtful about how we do that. And then by fall 27, we should have most of the beds open, and if we get any curveballs, you know what, we'll adjust, because that's just what we do. So really good stuff happening there. Any further questions about major capital projects and ordinary capital projects? I think it's fascinating that you all came up with $40 million over 3 years. I think if we add that and what we're currently doing and what happened from about 2019 on, we've been estimating about $150 million of improvements. I think it's actually more than that based on your numbers. We'll get that number. Just to say, it's transformational for the physical plant of the campus. Any further questions before I tell you about the board meeting? All right. So let me tell you about the action items. I think I'll just roll through these, and I'll tell you this one, and then Meg, you can come up and answer. You can tell us what the last two are. So the board had 5 action items. I will tell you the majority of the board meeting is not voting on action items. The majority of the meeting was taken up with things like a really wonderful discussion about the future of enrollment management at the institution. Everything from who we're recruiting, how many beds we're going to put students in, how retention is going, and how we improve our completion rates so that the value of Catawba education is even greater for our students. We had a really good discussion with featuring how Stacy Gato and Michelle Cadigan, those 2 vice presidents, working together with enrollment and athletics, so the board would know how we're working together and what we're thinking about. Some of you that were in the room helped me with this. We wanted to show off some of what's happening in the classroom, and so we had a screening of the documentary that was done in-house. Dr. Adi Ennis is here, Scott Morton, Dr. Jackson, and students were there. We screened it and then had dialogue with the board about how that film was made and what students learned and all of that. We thought it was a really good way of showing off what happens in classrooms across the campus. So those kinds of things happened during that day. Oh, and a feature on the AI collaborative. Thanks to you all who worked on that. Earl Givens and company did a primer for the board on how we're thinking about that. So the board meeting itself was largely about those kinds of things, a little bit of show and tell and some discussion about the future of the college and some action items. One important one is that several years ago, the Board of Trustees changed the bylaws to put term limits on board members. That had not been the case here. You've had board members who've had decades and 40 and 50-year terms. And I think it was a good thing that the board changed their bylaws. But what it presents is that we are coming up on the time where long-standing board members start rotating off the board. And we've noticed that next year it would mean we would lose an enormous amount of institutional history and talent on the board at once. And because of that, we decided to extend some terms just so that transition would not be so abrupt, which is good for me and good for us that we don't lose so many longstanding board members all at one time. So this means you'll see lifetime appointment. We've extended a lifetime board appointment to Mr. Fred Standback. I don't know anyone more deserving than that, but he can be on the board as long as he would like. And then Greg Alcorn and Bill Graham are going to serve an additional 4-year term. If you see them, you might want to thank them. We needed them because of things they bring to the board to stay with us for an additional term. And then we extended a couple of others for shorter parts of a term who are ready to become emeritus board members but are going to give us an extra year to help us with the transition. So that's a little inside baseball, but this is us tending to the stability of the institution. That matters for faculty and staff. It also matters for our board. And I really appreciate the thoughtfulness of our board leadership to make this happen. Then, as Stephanie mentioned, tuition, room, and board and fees, I want to make 2 comments. I so appreciate the team that does this every year. And I want you to note that in an age where over years, the national organization that recommends this is recommending 3.5 and 4% increases. I don't think we've done more than a 2 since I've been here. So we are trying to keep tuition costs down for our students. We have very few fees. They're very limited. But what I also want to note is the team very thoughtfully came back to make a recommendation about our room and board costs. And with all the work going on, the recommendation that was adopted by the board is to move to a flat rate. It doesn't matter what hall you live in, and we could only do this because all the improvements were done. So there's a flat rate. It doesn't matter which residence hall you say you want to live in, the cost is going to be the same. You'll pay more to have a single, but the cost is the same for everyone. Here's what I like about this. We build a big, beautiful hall in that new residence hall, and for juniors and seniors, let's say. And you decide those are premium beds and we're going to have a premium price on it. And you know what happens. Some in our student body can pay for that, and others would be left out. And what I like about this is we said it doesn't matter who you are, the cost is the same for you. And that's very consistent. This is where values matter, because the values drove the financial decision there. The board enthusiastically adopted that. So I don't want that to go by. It may look like a small thing, but it's really a big thing, right? Right, Michelle? Small things are big things, right? So I wanted you to know that the thoughtfulness of the group that brought that recommendation, thank you for that. Then a banking investment resolution. This is just about who gets to sign stuff, and we've had to update that. And then Meg, you had a couple of things. Come tell us the exciting stuff that the advancement committee of the board voted on.
These are really just making sure we're following best practices. So we gave 2 new policies to the Board of Trustees. One is about how we share constituent information, and this is just around best practices, so our staff knows when we get phone calls asking for people's phone numbers or emails, we have an actual policy and a process to follow. And then the second one was we just created some new fundraising guidelines, roles, and responsibilities. And again, if anybody wants to see these policies, I'm more than happy to share them with you. They just really are about making sure we're following best practices and honoring our constituents and protecting ourselves as well.
It's nice to be at the stage, you know, what Garrett's talking about is like we all bought an old house and now we have to fix it up, like there's this. I think the same thing is happening on the policy side. We're at a place as an institution where we can start tending to some of these things that may be small, and yet what it really does for us is it allows us to assure our alumni, for example, that we're always going to handle their information they share with us with integrity. So those are just good things for us to be paying attention to. I'm glad we are at a place we can pay attention to such things. Any other questions about the board meeting? Okay. Next up is Lee's going to make introductions, but because I will escape in a little bit. Any just other questions before we pass it off to introduce new people and then tell you about some events on campus coming up? All right, well, thank you again for all that every one of you does, you and your colleagues, to help take care of our students. I think it is safe to say, for those of us that end up spending a lot of time with parents, that the satisfaction level of families is really good for us. It's not that we can't improve things, we can. When we had the family council on campus a while back, 53, yeah, Lashika runs that, 53 parents in the room on our parents council. We talked about things like improving the living spaces, and we're doing that, but we've not been doing as well as we should. And by the way, improving dining services and those kinds of things. Not everything's perfect, but I feel like we are working really well to improve the things that need to be improved. And I'll just say to you, as we're talking about all the construction and all the disruption on campus, thank you for being flexible and patient and dealing with all of the stuff. It's not just parking. There's a lot of things disrupted. I can tell the students' level of disruption is lower, and that is in part because you've brought such a sense of calm. So thank you for that. It is noticed. Lee, I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce some folks to us.
Okay. All right, here we go. Hold your applause until after the last name is called. First, we will start off with admissions. Jamal David, Assistant Director of Undergrad Admissions. And if you're in the room, please raise your hand so we can notice you. Working already, huh? Athletics, we have Michael Boyd, Assistant Director of Athletic Game Day Operation and Facilities. Ryan Little, Tennis Assistant Coach. Jacob McBride, Men's and Women's Golf Assistant Coach. Ronald Robinson, Women's Basketball Assistant Coach. No? Probably working as well, right, Michelle? Counseling, Amelia Glasser, a counselor. Politics, Hanif Saeed, postdoctoral research fellow. Office of the President, Vanna Christian, administrative assistant. Sports medicine, Eunice Carlos, assistant athletic trainer. Position changes. IT, Luke Davis, IT support specialist. D'Angelo Moore, help desk supervisor. Joshua Page, audio video administrator. Office of the Executive Vice President and Provost, Julie Ledbetter, Executive Assistant. Glenda Linder, Director of Faculty Affairs. Student Affairs, Cassandra Jenkins, Director of Housing and Residence Life. All right, welcome.
I get the most fun job and the easiest job, and just tell you all the wonderful, exciting things that are coming up that we want you to participate in and for the rest of the semester, and then to remind you of our next town hall meeting. Big Bear this afternoon. I hope everyone's going to see all the little kids doing their trick-or-treating and celebrating and having a lot of fun at our carnival. We're excited to offer that again. Lighting of the Green, November 24th. Don't miss that date. It's super fun. Student Affairs has some amazing things planned for our students and for all of you. And of course, it's a wonderful, beautiful night to celebrate together the lighting of campus. We are going to do another faculty staff holiday decorating contest, so get ready, get your planning going. Last year, Marcom took the prize. Can we do it again? I don't know. But bring your best efforts. If you have a desk or a door or a wall or whatever you have, spice it up, do some amazing things. We'll be excited to announce the winner at our luncheon on December 12th. Lessons and Carols, the most beautiful service, will be here on campus again. 3 dates to participate. Make sure you are there. The Employee and Retiree Holiday Luncheon. We have, of course, delicious food. We also have some absolutely amazing prizes. You must be present to win. Be there. And then in January, after our lovely winter break, we will be back with another town hall on January 8th, where you'll hear some more campus updates and a lot more information about capital projects and other things that we heard today. Any questions or any other announcements from anyone? Okay. Thank you all so much for coming. Have a great day.